All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to break down how you can get absolutely peak performance from your Android apps, the ones you're building with Delphi. We're talking about moving way beyond apps that just function and into the realm of apps that feel incredibly fast and responsive in your users' hands.
So let's start with a really important question. One I want you to think about for your own projects. Is your application truly fluid, or is it just functional? There's a world of difference between an app that just gets the job done and one that's an absolute joy to use. That difference, that's our focus today. Because at the end of the day, performance is all about perception. It doesn't matter what the benchmarks say if the app feels sluggish. It's all about how fast and snappy it feels to the person using it. So we're going to dig into the best practices from this report to give you the playbook for building apps that feel exceptionally high performance.
And here's how we'll tackle it. We're going to use a little something we're calling the performance pyramid. We'll start at the top with FMX fundamentals and UI optimization, the stuff your user sees and feels directly. Then we'll work our way down to managing the heavy lifting tasks, and we'll finish at the base, the foundation of it all, analysis and profiling. Okay, first up, FMX performance fundamentals. This is all about leveraging the power of the GPU. Look, building a high-performance app starts with understanding the core philosophy of the FireMonkey framework and its not-so-secret weapon for creating a silky smooth UI. The whole idea here is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. FMX was built from the ground up to take all the hard work of drawing the user interface and hand it off from the CPU, your device's main brain, to the GPU, which is a specialist in graphics. This frees up the CPU to focus on your app's actual logic, and that is the key to preventing those annoying stutters and slowdowns. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, it means every single control you use is hardware accelerated right out of the box. It means you can be incredibly flexible, nesting controls however you want. You want to put an image inside a button? Go for it. FMX handles it efficiently. Plus, all those cool animations and visual effects, they're powered directly by the GPU, which means they run, well, butter smooth. Okay, let's move on to our next layer, UI optimization strategies. Now that we have that amazing GPU-powered foundation, we can get into the practical, hands-on techniques for building a UI that feels incredibly fast and fluid. The source material has this line that just hits the nail on the head. A fast app with an ugly interface is not very useful. And it's so true, isn't it? It perfectly captures this idea that raw speed and a good user experience are two sides of the same coin. They have to go hand in hand. So what are the best practices here? It's really about using the right tools for the job. Instead of manually placing every single element on the screen, lean on layout components like T-Layout and T-Grid Panel. Let them handle the hard work of creating a structured design that adapts to any screen size. And hey, to make sure it all looks good, adopt modern standards like Material Design 3 for a clean, professional interface that users will immediately understand. Now we're digging deeper into our pyramid, down to managing heavy tasks. This is a huge one, because this is where we talk about avoiding every Android developer's nightmare, that dreaded application not responding dialogue. We've all seen it. The problem is really straightforward. Your UI, everything the user sees and interacts with, runs on a single main thread. If you try to do something that takes a long time on that thread, like downloading a massive file or running a complex query, the UI just locks up, it freezes. That's when Android throws up that ANR error. The solution, thankfully, is just as straightforward. Delegation.
And the report uses this fantastic analogy for this pattern, the autonomous messenger. Imagine you need to upload a huge 200 megabyte video. Instead of making your app sit there and manage the whole process, you just hand that task directly over to the Android operating system itself. At that point, your app's job is done. The user can close your app, they can restart the phone, it just doesn't matter. The OS, our autonomous messenger, will finish that upload in the background. It is the absolute gold standard for reliability. And this idea of choosing the right tool isn't just for big background tasks. It can have a massive impact on your core logic too. For instance, the report found that for something as common as sorting a list of strings, using a highly optimized component was up to 10 times faster than the standard one. 10 times! That's not just a small improvement, that's a total game changer.
Which brings us to the very foundation of our pyramid. Analysis and profiling. And this comes with a golden rule you absolutely have to remember. You cannot optimize what you do not measure. Guessing where your app is slow is a recipe for wasted time. Data is what leads to real improvements.
And you've got two essential tools in your corner here. First, while you're developing, you have the Android Studio Profiler. Think of this as your microscope. It gives you a live, super detailed look at your app's CPU, memory, and network usage. But then, once your app is out in the wild, you turn to Android Vitals. This is your telescope. It shows you how your app is actually performing on thousands of different devices in the real world.
Getting started with this is way easier than you might think. You literally just add a single line to your Android manifest file to make your app profilable. That's it. Then you connect your device, fire up the profiler, and start looking at live data. Once you launch your app, your job just shifts to keeping an eye on the feedback that comes in through Android Vitals.
And that is so crucial. The Profiler in Android Studio is fantastic for catching problems in the lab, right? But Android Vitals, that's the ultimate judge. It's the final verdict. It uses data from your actual users to tell you if your optimizations are really working out there in the unpredictable chaos of the real world.
So let's just do a quick recap of the key takeaways here. First, always build on FMX's solid GPU-accelerated foundation. Second, delegate any heavy task to the Android OS to keep your UI from ever freezing. Third, use profiling tools to measure everything and find your bottlenecks. And finally, use Android Vitals as your source of truth for real-world performance.
So there you have it. You've got the map, the best practices for building high-performance Delphi apps for Android. The only question left for you is this. Do you know where your application's biggest bottlenecks are hiding right now? It's time to start measuring.